everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. It's really interesting. This is my first time at nemoa, and I'm just so honored to be up here sharing the stage with so many distinguished brands that I have looked up to for so many years, that I have purchased from, that I've looked to in the last 2 years for guidance. We are a very new brand, as Cindy mentioned. We are just coming up on our year anniversary at the end of this month. So I'm not sure I'm going to teach anybody here anything, but we have a really interesting, fun story with a lot of mistakes and crazy things that happened along the way. So I'm just going to take you through that, and here we go. So I'm here today just to talk about Birch Lane, which is, as we mentioned, a brand that is under the family of brands for Wayfair. And I'm glad to see so many hands in the audience who knew Wayfair. That kind of cuts off a little of what I have to explain about our parent company. Just to give you a quick overview, Wayfair is the largest home and decor business, e-commerce business in America. And I'll get into more about Wayfair in a few minutes, but Birch Lane is a new brand for the classic American lifestyle. And that's the tagline, kind of the marching orders that we came up with when we were concepting the brand. Now, to be sure, this is a pretty broad brand statement, not a very strong point of view here. So what does this mean to us in terms of how we're presenting to the customer? So first, we're traditional. We're classic designs that always inspire. The next is we're solid, timeless style to always cherish. Next, we're inviting, and this is something that is really important to us. We're for family and neighbors and friends old and new. So we really wanted to have this feeling of invitation and hospitality and welcoming as a key central part of our brand through creative and voice and product and customer service. And finally, we're gracious, and we feel that this goes hand in hand with the idea of welcoming and invitation, tasteful pieces that make your home beautiful. And so in addition to these terms and phrases that we think about in terms of our merchandising and creative, what do we stand for as a business? So back to this idea of classic furniture and decor, we're not design leaders. We aren't going to be featured in Dwell magazine. We're not going to be highlighted as a real cutting edge design brand. That's not who we are. We are classic, timeless, familiar, a little bit safe, but refined. We really want to provide our customer with foundation pieces, with things that are going to be in her home for a long time, and also offer her a little bit of style in there as well. We're thoughtfully curated and priced. So we are not a discount brand. We are not the entry price point in home. But what we really strive to offer our customers is to allow her to shop with no regrets. So what that means to us is it's the right product and the right price with free shipping. We have curated the assortment so she does not have to worry if it's too on trend, is it too stuffy. We're hoping to offer her sort of the perfect mix of classic pieces that can go the distance in her home and at a price that she's going to be really excited about. And then the last thing is just unmatched customer service. So Wayfair has been in the business of delivering large items for the home for 13 years. We are experts at getting anything to the customer's door in perfect condition with no hassles. So that was a really, that's something that we are very lucky as a new brand to not have to worry about as logistics, because we have all of the logistics worked out. So we have that to offer her. We can offer her, again, free shipping. We know that this is really, really important to her, and it's one of the things that has made Wayfair so successful. And then just, we have a US-based customer service team, many of whom are right here in Boston, that service any customer need for many hours of the week. So I do need to talk about Wayfair a little bit to give you the full context of Birch Lane and why we did this, and you know, why Wayfair as a pure play e-commerce company would launch a catalog in 2014 is the #1 question that I get. No one gets it. You know, probably people outside this room don't get it. You know, they, oh, e-commerce is the future, why would you be going back? We don't see it that way at all, so I'll get to that in a minute. Just kind of give you an overview of Wayfair. Wayfair had a big year this year. We had our initial public offering in October, which is a really, really proud moment for a lot of us at the company that have been working toward this goal for many years. It was a great place to be, great year to be there. One of the big goals that we were reaching toward before we went public was to be $1 billion company. And so in 2014, we were a $1.3 billion company that includes total worldwide sales. We have operations in the US and Canada, as well as in Europe and Australia. And then that $1.3 billion represented a 44% year-over-year growth. So not only are we growing fast, we're growing big, and we have a lot of irons in the fire. Birch Lane is just one. There's a lot of other stuff going on in all parts of the business. We delivered 5 million orders in 2014 from 7,000 suppliers, and our active customer base was 3 million customers. And then the last point is something that we're very proud of. Our brand aided awareness is 55%. The Wayfair brand itself just launched 4 years ago. Prior to that, we were under a different name. And so we went from 0% to 55% brand aided awareness in just 4 years, which is the result of a lot of hard work and a lot of really good marketing decisions. So to talk about how we get to catalog, I'm just going to back up a little bit about the overall Wayfair marketing strategy and how it's developed over the years. So in the early stages of the company, back in the mid-2000s, we had 250 microsites. We were cookware.com, strollers.com, bedroomfurniture.com, and our marketing strategy was really focused on narrow channels. So paid search, competitive shopping engines. We were really just thinking about how to connect the customer with the item that she was looking for. When we rebranded to Wayfair in 2011, we all of a sudden had a brand that we could market. And so there were new channels that became available to us. TV was the primary one that's a huge channel for us now. TV was a great way for us to tell the Wayfair brand story from end to end in a 30-second spot. And it was the first time we'd really ever been able to do that. We also then were able to utilize social channels, Facebook, Twitter, now Instagram, etc. We're really trying to target customers higher in the funnel. So instead of trying to find that customer when she knows that she needs a blue rug, 5x8, under $300 in the next week, we're trying to talk to her earlier. So we're at the point where she's just moved, or she's thinking about redecorating, and really trying to tell the story that we have everything she needs. And so the next step in this development, this evolution, really felt like it should be catalog, because we love the idea of TV and how you can tell that brand story, but with TV, you can't target your audience that effectively. But with catalog, we know now, you can. We love the idea of being able to take 116 pages or 136 pages and from page 1 to the last page, really get the point across about what we're about and put that in front of the right people. So quickly, just to go through our other brands, Wayfair.com is the largest brand. The tagline of a zillion things home. We have, I believe at this point, over 6 million items, and it's all about selection. All Modern is our modern curated brand. So this is the site that sells brands like Knoll and Vitra, Herman Miller, and this is for the customer that has really self-identified as a modern customer. Joss & Main is our flash sale site. So they serve up daily, I think now 30 to 40 discounted 3-day events, and their primary marketing channel is email. So they're emailing the customers once a day, twice a day, focusing on membership, and this is our discount channel. And then finally here on this slide, Dwell Studio. Dwell Studio is a brand that started outside of Wayfair and is a brand that just has so much brand equity in the marketplace, is really seen as a design leader. The founder of Dwell Studio, Christian Lemieux, is a very, very well-respected person in our industry. We acquired Dwell Studio in 2013, and that was a real turning point for Wayfair to invest in a brand that has a point of view, cares about design, cares about brand, and had a catalog and a retail store. If anyone had told me in 2010 when I joined the company that we would one day have a retail store, I would have fallen on the floor. No one wanted to touch retail, and now we have one retail store in a $1.3 billion company. And then finally, Birch Lane, which is my brand, launched in 2014, a year ago, and these are a few of the covers that have been out there in the marketplace. So let's talk about why catalog and why now. So as I said, it's a natural next step in our marketing strategy. We also felt like it was a new way to reach our customers. So the reason I went through all the other brands quickly is just to really talk about, we have a brand that can reach the customer that knows what she wants. That's Wayfair. We have a brand that addresses the discount customer, Joss & Main. We have a brand that is design-oriented and might be trade customers primarily, Dwell Studio. And so what we wanted to do with Birch Lane was really have a brand that would address the customer that likes to browse, she likes inspiration, she is very engaged with her home and reads a lot of magazines, and catalog is how we believe that she shops. I talked about end-to-end brand story. And then finally, we thought it was a way to extend our digital marketing expertise in a new channel, new to us channel, obviously not a new channel. Wayfair is a digital marketing powerhouse, and that's a really bold statement to make, but we are. We have hundreds of people dedicated to data analytics, business intelligence, optimizing every digital channel you can think of, exploring new digital channels. We do everything, almost everything in-house. And so we don't have to pay for that expertise from outside consultants or vendors. We do that with a team of extremely smart, Ivy League educated people that really know what they're doing. And so we thought, maybe we could do this with print, who knows? No one told us we couldn't, so we thought we'd try it. Before I move on from that though, I do want to just say that we pretty boldly thought we could do it and really learned quickly that we had no idea how to do it. And so we were very lucky to kind of have a network of very trusted advisors in non-competitive fields. Some of you are in this room today that helped us. And we just had a lot to learn really early about what it means to go to market with a catalog. It is not like digital marketing. So just wanted to tell a little story about how this all kicked off. So prior to my running Birch Lane, I was running half of the Joss & Main team, the merchant team. And I was reporting to our SVP of Strategic Initiatives, which that basically means he gets everything that's not Wayfair. And I go into my weekly one-on-one and I have my list and I'm ready to go through all my points, and he says, we're ready to start the catalog business. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I had heard about it percolating a little bit in the executive meetings, and you know, a lot of stuff goes on at Wayfair that, you know, even if you're in the senior leadership, you don't always have a lot of visibility to, just because we have a lot going on. And I said, great, I've been breeding my number 2 here. She's on maternity leave. When she gets back in January, this will be a really great project. I'm excited to take it on. He said, no, we're starting tomorrow, actually. So we were already booked to go to the Las Vegas furniture market the next day. This was the end of August in 2013. And I was, you know, going with a team of 30 buyers, and we had our appointments, and we had some tough conversations to have, and he said, no, I'm gonna cover those meetings. You need to go source for the new brand. Great, okay, let's go. So, oh, and by the way, you're still running the Jocelyn Main team until January. So that kicked it off. We started in September of 2013, launched in April of 2014. So basically we started with nothing and ended with a catalog in 7 months. This is some pictures of our buyers in India. This was not part of that first 7-month round. We did not have time to go to India and back in that time, but this is just some pictures of them developing textiles over in New Delhi. So we started with a very lean team, and when I say we were a lean team, you could count us on both hands, and not much on the second hand. At Wayfair, we always start new initiatives with very few people. Businesses have to prove themselves. We do not put a lot of resources toward them, but the people that we do add to the team are usually some of the top people in the company. So during this time, the 7-month period, we had the buyers who were trying to onboard vendors. You know, we're working with a lot of the Wayfair vendors, but you know, there's a whole different set of requirements for presenting product and catalog, including having inventory. They were racing to try to develop product for the brand and trying to wedge into the production schedule, because vendors in September are already locked and loaded pretty much on what they're going to be delivering in the spring, just trying to get a piece of that, negotiating pricing, etc. We quickly put together a 1-person creative team. Our art director, she was responsible basically for building the entire brand vocabulary. She built the brand book. She led the hiring of a photography studio. She concepted all of the layouts. She really, like I said, came up with the entire visual language for the brand very, very quickly. Production, I'm going to talk about production at several parts of this presentation. If I had to name one thing that we had no idea was going to be such a beast, it was production. We had no idea what it took to put this catalog together. I think we as a company tend to underestimate things that aren't analytical and in spreadsheets, and like literally how do you get 700 samples to a photo studio on time was all consuming for this team. But the production, and we had pulled somebody out of another role in Wayfair to run production, and as you'll see later, that wasn't quite the right decision to make. And then finally, marketing. I can't say enough about our marketing team. I was very, very lucky. I was able to partner with one of the top senior leaders on the marketing team for Wayfair. He was running a really important strategic part of Wayfair's acquisition strategy, and he moved over to run marketing for Birch Lane. And so that in itself was, I think, the thing that really helped lock in our success early, was that I had a really, really smart partner in this crazy business that we were trying to create. And the team that he's created to support the business and the marketing for this business is also phenomenal. And so they, like everyone else, had to learn how to do print marketing. We had no idea what paper costs. No idea. We still like fall off our chairs when we hear about paper. We didn't know you had to buy paper in advance. We're like, is it just like going to Kinko's? Like we just like call in an order and, you know, print a million and we're good? No. We didn't know you couldn't like change your paper decision late. Didn't know that we would be dealing with the post office as much as we were. You know, didn't know that I would care about a postal increase. Now I care. Didn't know that a postal increase was going to make my paper quality suck next season. And then we had to learn terms like co-bind and co-mail, and I still don't know what those things are, but we talk about them. Fortunately, our marketing team knows what they are. So get around to 2014, January, and we realized we had to get our shit together. 3 months to get this thing done. So we'd finalize the product assortment, get inventory locked in. We don't own inventory. It's a really key part of the Wayfair business strategy. We drop ship everything. So we had to get vendors to commit to holding inventory for everything that was going to be in the catalog. We had to shoot the whole book and all of the web assets. So remember, we have nothing. We have not one image. So anything and everything that's going to be presented to the customer, from product imagery to the images on top of the browse pages to anything we wanted to present on social media, everything had to be shot. And we did all of that in 6 weeks in North Carolina. We'd write every word of copy that the customer would read, product copy, headlines, again, content, had to write it all. We had to build our website, which I think probably sounds like something that would be pretty easy to do in a company that, you know, did over $1 billion through e-com last year. Not easy. So first of all, I want a website. This is my conversation with the guy that runs our product team. I want a website, great. I don't want it to have any of the same site features as Wayfair. What? It needs to have enhanced swatch experience. If a customer wants to order swatches, that needs to work. I need content to be integrated throughout the site. I need to be able to really effectively communicate promotions. I need the catalog experience to translate to the site seamlessly. And he basically said, I can give you a functioning website maybe by April 1st. So that's something we're still working on. We had to build the circulation plan, hire a printer. We had to figure out how we were going to communicate that this was even happening. So we have a really small but amazing PR team at Wayfair. We had to plan all the PR events. And then finally, last but definitely not least, we had to print and mail the book and then hope that people liked it. So here's our first catalog. First in home, April 7th of last year, and the tagline was "Welcome Spring with Classic Taste." And I really love this cover. I think it captures everything we wanted to be as a brand. We wanted to be classic, but we wanted to be, I love this freshness and lightness about this image. I love that it's welcoming and it's aspirational, but it still feels like you're invited into the image. So I was in New York at the end of March last year, and we had done a soft launch on the website. The book wasn't in home yet. And I was at a dinner to celebrate the launch. We had editors from a lot of the top shelter magazines. We had some of the top bloggers in the country. Just really celebratory mood. Everyone was really excited. And I look at my phone, and our first order had come in. And I'm like, who found our site? No one knows what we're doing. We're driving no traffic to it. So I'm like this proud mother now of Birch Lane, right? So I'm like, ding, 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 everyone, we got our first order. So Birch Lane basic sheeting, which is great sheeting, by the way. And of course, immediately everybody wants to know, where is this customer? Who is she? Is she in one of like our top segments? Like, is she on one of the coasts? Is she urban, suburban? Hold on, let me look. Okay, Houston, Texas. Oh, that's where I'm from. Oh, how funny. The Woodlands, Texas. That's where my mother lives. It was my mother. Second order. Multi-unit transaction. Okay. Flatware, the same sheeting set, and frames. Okay, great. One of the buyer's mothers. And side note, her name's Gabby. Gabby's mom got my mom sheeting, and my mom got Gabby's mom sheeting. So when I say we're great at logistics, like 99.9% of the time. So I guess note to self, mothers are a great, very engaged segment, if anybody was wondering. But not to worry, the orders, once we got the catalog out there, orders started rolling in. We were extremely happy with our first month performance, both in terms of revenue and orders, and our house list file was growing at a much more rapid pace than we'd ever expected, so all good things. So just like taking you through the rest of 2014 now, we really thought about, okay, we went to market, we took cues from some of the best brands in the industry, we went out with this, medium thick book with all this grand photography. Okay, that costs a lot of money. So what can we do to test? So we really were pushing the boundaries of trying to test some mail form sizes. We were really trying to, like, while we were off the radar in terms of our business in Wayfair, like, we're small volume, nobody's really paying attention to us. Let's test as much as we can. We were testing our team structure. I think it's really hard when you start a business to know how many people you need in certain areas and what those people are going to do and how they're going to interact. And so we played around at the end of last year with the org a little bit. Product mix. Wayfair is very, very strong in furniture, and so that's what I naturally had the team lean into for the first book. I think, honestly, to the detriment of lower ticket, seasonal accent, and lower ticket products. So we played around the rest of the year a lot with thinking about order starters and first orders versus average order value. And then finally, we really tinkered around with the production schedule, which is definitely an ongoing project even today. As I mentioned, we were definitely humbled by some big successes in the beginning with regard to all the metrics, revenue, orders, contribution margin, house list file. But we had some really big learnings, and one of the biggest learnings for me that first year, especially like in May, June, was you can only push a small team so far before they break. And I had about half my team, not half, maybe a third of my team threatened to leave. And then 3 of them leave in the summer. So I think you do have, kind of your first year people when you're starting out the business, and then you have your year 1 through 3 people, and then you have like your 3 to 10 year people. And it wasn't, the people that left, it was very amicable, and I think they were 0 to 1 year people, but I think we learned a lot about, pushing the limits of people, and we got to that launch date and thought, like, celebration, we can rest, but you know what, no. We get another one mailing in 6 weeks, another 6 weeks after that. We haven't started fall. Holiday, we haven't even thought about, and so it just keeps coming. And then we also realized quickly that we needed to balance our in-house homegrown talent with more industry expertise. This is definitely counter to the Wayfair culture. We always just approach projects with, okay, let's round up our best, smartest people in the organization, they'll learn. There's just certain things you can't learn, and one of them is print production. And my hat is off to everyone in this room that is an expert in this area, because it is so complicated. It is such a relationship-driven business. We didn't have those relationships. So we hired a production manager that had a lot of experience in this area, and she really not only, kind of took on the print relationship and negotiating all the paper buys and all of that, but she really got us on a great schedule that we wouldn't be here today without her. So I was asked to talk about our biggest challenges, which I think pretty much every point in this presentation talks about challenges, but if I had to sum them up, here they are. So we had no internal experience in print marketing, as I've said before, and when I was going through this and thinking about how I was going to phrase things, I thought, maybe I'll say we have little print experience. I'm not, I'm just going to say it. We have no internal print experience. We do think about our marketing strategy for digital as aligning closely with direct marketing. So, they're the same principles, retargeting. It's basically the same principle as a brick and mortar store owner that will, mail postcards to customers that have come in a few weeks before just to reconnect with them. So the principles are there, but there's definitely a lot of really important things to know about print marketing that we just didn't know. The next challenge for us is that there's very little data associated to a business that's small and new, and there's also not another comparable business within Wayfair that we can look to for guidance, and so this is way outside of our comfort zone, way outside. When I said earlier in the presentation, we have hundreds of people dedicated to business intelligence and analytics and data mining. There's just nothing to mine. There's just, in the beginning. And so we had to really get comfortable with, on the one hand, instinct and like taking a little data and trying to extrapolate that out, or just really going with your gut, but then also not taking a little bit of data that may not be a good indication of what you should do and run with that. I think the second thing is actually a lot more dangerous when you take a very early signal from your sales and you just run with it. We had a couple of those that we had to definitely pull back on a little bit. Little ability to pivot quickly. Again, very counter to the e-commerce business. In e-com, if you get price wrong, or you get the image wrong, or you get the product copy wrong, go back in and change it, no big deal. It'll change instantly. Not true for print. Just an FYI, not true for print. I sat with the merchant team and I said, okay, this is back in January or February. Okay, you guys need to price this stuff. And you're like, what? We have a pricing team for Wayfair. Wayfair has a pricing team that runs everything on algorithms and looks at competition, and it's a bunch of really smart people. And I said, what do you think this bed should cost? You know your margin, price it. And then I said, oh, and by the way, you're locked into that price for probably like 4 or 5 months. Really scary. Print decisions, pagination, like, I look back at that first catalog and I'm like, what the hell were we thinking putting this spread third or fourth? And we got back to the printer and we're like, what were we doing? But you gotta commit. I mean, there is no better lesson to somebody in my position about like making a stand and sticking to it than catalog. We don't have any brick and mortar stores, and it's not on the radar anytime soon. So I'll just get that question answered before we get to Q&A. Brick and mortar stores are something that are very near and dear to my heart. My career path was in brick and mortar for a long time. I think they're really important to the customer experience and the relationship to your customer. They also cost a lot of money, and we do not have the organizational infrastructure right now to support stores. But nevertheless, it does pose a challenge when everyone else in our brand peer group has stores, and we lose that layer of relationship with the customer that allows them to touch your product, hear the music you play, smell the smells in your store, interact with sales associates. And so we know that that's a real challenge for us to overcome. And I'll talk about a little bit about how we're doing that later. And then the last one, probably the hardest thing for us in the first year, was prioritization. We just have a ton of ideas. Every time we launch a new product line or we have a promotion or anything, let's mail something on that. Let's do a mailer. Let's do a postcard. I think our team gets a little nervous when our marketing director and I meet once a week, because we come out of that meeting, we're like, we're doing these 4 new mailers. Great. And you know, some of the senior management on the team has to peel us back and say, we can't do that. We really have to think about what are the things that we can do in the next 6 to 12 months that are going to help us achieve the top line goal that we've set for ourselves. There are a lot of things we want to be doing. I look at some of the brands that I admire and look up to, and I think if I had to meet with their chief marketing officer and go through my site or my book or anything, I would want these things in place. But we just don't have time to do them right now. So we really need to think about what are the priorities for, you know, more on an 18 to 24 month timeline. So now we're a year in, and what's on tap for 2015? Back to testing. And so I talked a little bit, but you know, back in 2014 we were testing on form size. We're still doing that, but we're also really thinking about other things like page count, leveraging more of what we know from our digital marketing expertise, thinking about how to make the most of the information and customers we have on the Wayfair and Joss & Main side. We're thinking about versioning. A lot of what we're thinking about are things that all of you have been doing for years and years and years, but we are now at a point where we have enough volume that the testing can be meaningful. Still playing around with the product mix. I think that that's never going to go away, but now that we do have enough volume to have some data, which feels like Christmas for us, that we can like have data and slice it and look at productivity and all of that, we are understanding more about what the mix in the book should look like, and then what the online offering should look like, how often to intro new product, and what categories we should be in. So we are actually introducing our outdoor collection in, I think, a week or so. It's out online now. And so outdoor was a huge push for us, and something that I'm really proud of in terms of what we're offering this year. Again, finally, we have some data to drive decisions, so we're going to start to do that. We have a dedicated analyst that is, her entire focus is just looking at our catalog data and helping the merchant team and the rest of the marketing team understand where we should be going, what we should be doing. Putting a stake in the ground on who we are as a brand. So when I started this talk, I said who we wanted to be, or who we thought we would be, or, you know, kind of what was our position as we went to market. But now I think it's really time for us to revisit that. We now have customer data. She's voted for what she likes. We've done a couple customer surveys. We know who she is more than we did before. The product leads that evolution. The creative leads that evolution. And so I think we're ready now to start doing a few iterations on who we are in terms of brand. We're thinking about our omni-channel marketing strategy and what that means to us. And when I say us, I don't mean Wayfair, I mean us, Birch Lane, in comparison to Wayfair. So a lot of what Wayfair is good at and drives a lot of the decisions doesn't work for us. One thing in particular is that when someone becomes a customer of Wayfair or Joss & Main, two businesses that are 100% online acquired customers, we know everything about their habits from the moment they discover our brand. We know how they found us. We know where they land. We know their entire path through the site. Upon multiple visits, we know what style bucket they fit into. We know everything about them. And I do believe that we use that information for good, not evil, because we use it primarily for personalization and making sure that we're serving up the right site experience and right email experience for that customer. For Birch Lane, the first touch point with the brand is at her mailbox, and we're not there at her mailbox. We don't know anything about her interaction with our brand until she first visits our site or calls our customer service line, which is a very low percentage of customers. So we don't know, I mean, we can guess how long she's had that catalog, can do some matchbacks. We don't know if that went in the recycling bin and came out the next day when her sister was over. We don't know if it was a treasured piece that came in the mail. So we're really trying to think about how to capture that black hole of first touch point to first site visit and understand what that interaction is more. I've talked a lot about catalog, but which is still our primary acquisition channel, but online is something that we are really looking to optimize this year. I think when we launched, we were so consumed with the whole process of just getting something out the door that it's all we thought about, and we had 2 people on the team that were really focused on online, and they are doing a fabulous job, but it was really an afterthought. We're like, oh, that channel will just kind of run itself. Now we're really thinking about online and how that can become a bigger part of our business in the next few years. Looking at the customer acquisition cost through that channel versus catalog, looking at the lifetime value of both customers, different times of year. If you acquire one in the holiday season, are they more valuable than at another time of year? So we're putting a lot more focus back on online now that we've sort of figured out this catalog thing. Back to prioritizing. We set a really, really high bar this year for the revenue we want to drive, and we're about to redo our forecast and raise it again. And so I think it's something that I really focus on with my team is, what are you doing today to move the needle? Not what are you doing next week or what's the meeting you're going to have, what are you doing today? And if you're spinning cycles on something that isn't going to show us revenue in 2015, you need to have a really good reason to know why you're doing that. You probably shouldn't be doing it. We're going to have more team members at some point. We're going to have more time. We'll build out the nice to haves, but right now it's really anything that we need to do to drive that top line number. That's what we should be focusing on. And I'd say about 95% of that is direct customer-facing initiatives, things that touch the customer directly. And then starting to lean more on internal resources. We, as a company at Wayfair, are a very matrix company, so we build teams that are experts in their area: logistics, supplier operations, I mentioned pricing, planning and inventory allocation, data analytics. I didn't really lean on any of those resources out of the gate. It was really just my team of merch and creative and our marketing team. And that was the right thing to do. We could move fast. We didn't have to worry about affecting other teams' metrics. We didn't have to spin all these cycles around campaigning for time and resources. We just did what we needed to do. Now, we're getting big enough that I think it's important for us to start leaning on our big brother, big sister, starting to really use the expertise in those departments to help us grow. This is one of our images from our spring creative in mailboxes in a couple weeks. And put this in as a little breather, and also as a representation of all the beautiful, serene brunches that my team did not get to have in 2014 because they were working. So, just to wrap up here, I'm going to go through kind of my top 10 lessons learned in the first year. So the first is we learned it's really important to be flexible in your strategy. We talk a lot at Wayfair about we're an execution company, but it's important to be strategic as well. And being an execution-focused company, we have a lot of people that when they get the battle cry to go after something, they just barrel toward it as fast and as hard as they can. And so when you realize 60% of the way into that, that's not the right path, it can be really hard to change that path because you put a lot of energy into it, the data's telling you to do it, everything is pointing toward that, but you just know it's not right. It's hard to shift, but it's essential. It's essential when you are starting a business to be able to shift your strategy when you need to. Hard lesson, I've talked about it a lot. Don't get paralyzed by not having data. Our instinct was good. It's a little hard to have instinct in a channel that you've never done before, but you know, we have all shopped from catalogs, we've all shopped from the really successful brands. We kind of had good instinct around what would work, and so you know, as I've mentioned, it was really hard that first year, but I think it's important to go with your instinct and take risks. Next is learn from the best, but innovate quickly. I don't think it's any mystery that we have piles and piles and piles of all of your catalogs all around the office with notes and post-its and learnings, and you know, we really looked to the best to really help us understand what makes this channel work. But now we're ready to innovate. You know, we're ready to go out on our own. I think Wayfair has always been a company that has led in its channel. It's always been one of the best at e-commerce and digital marketing. And so I think we're ready to peel off the pack a little bit and do our own thing and see what works. Staff appropriately for who you're going to need in year 2. I think we would have had a better, I think it would have been better if we'd had some continuity on the team. There would have been some projects that would have gotten done faster. And if you only think about staffing in terms of headcount and OpEx percent and all of that, you know, that can be a little dangerous. We were thinking about that a little too much at the beginning. Put the right person in the right position and understand where you cannot home grow your talent. We need more of these, actually, so look for job postings on Wayfair. Ask for help and know what you don't know. Again, we were so grateful and so lucky to have advisors in this organization that helped us tremendously, and you know, we weren't afraid to ask for help. Educate your internal network about what you're doing. I would say I spend about 10% of my week every week just educating internal leadership about what our business is about. They have no idea. And I was remiss in the beginning purely because of time. I wasn't spending the time to do that. And now that I've come around and we need these organizations and we need this expertise, I have to spend a lot of time talking about what our business cycle looks like and how conversion spikes the first 2 weeks a book is in home and demand spikes, and I'm gonna need 50% of my inventory in this time, and pricing cannot be based on the daily, hourly competitive pricing. It has to be thoughtful. And so if I could go back today, I would have definitely spent more time just campaigning for virtual lanes within our building. Focus on things that move the needle. I've talked a lot about that. Don't be afraid to take risks. I think that speaks for itself. But side note, marketing director I work with and myself are not risk takers, so this has been a little bit of a hard hill to climb for both of us. And then I think the most important thing here is everything comes back to the customer. If you think about her experience and let that guide every decision you make, everything else will follow. And so I think the perfect example of this is in the beginning, we were going back and forth about whether to charge shipping. And Wayfair does not charge shipping on orders over $49, so essentially almost all of their orders ship for free. Pretty much everyone in our peer group, the catalog business, does charge shipping. So we were vacillating between like, grab a few extra points of margin. We can still offer lower shipping rates than our competitors, but we'll, and hopefully she'll be happy because she saved a little bit on shipping, but we're not ready to give that for free. So we did charge shipping in the beginning, and we got a lot of feedback that that is not how she wanted to shop with us. And so recently we changed our shipping policy back to Wayfair's. It obviously costs a lot in contribution margin to ship everything for free, especially when you're talking about full platinum white glove delivery inside your home, assembly, packaging removal. They'll put it where you want it. They'll rearrange your furniture, free. But it was the right thing to do. And we're already seeing financially that was the right thing to do as well. We're seeing a great increase in conversion. We're getting a lot of great customer feedback. And so something that we should have listened to our gut instinct early and thought about her experience, we would have done the right thing from the beginning. These are a few images from our spring creative, and I'll leave you with that. Thank you.